Continuing with the experimental probability, now instead of having a bar graph like what we did in example 1, we have a table. And in this table, it shows the results of a spinner experiment, and you want to find each experimental probability. So reading the table, that means with it being a spinner, it's landed on number 1 6 times, number 2 11 times, number 3 19 times, and number 4 14 times. So if I want to find the probability of spinning a 4, the first thing I need to know is how many times did it land on a 4, because that would be a favorable outcome. Well, it landed on the number 4 14 times. And I need to put that over the total amount. So the problem is that they didn't give us the total amount, but that doesn't mean we can't find it. We can find the total amount of spins by adding up the number of occurrences. So 6 plus 11 plus 19 plus 14, let's see, these two create 30, these create 20, so 30 plus 20 is 50. So there are a total of 50 spins. Remember, if you're going to leave it as a ratio, that's fine, but you want to simplify that, so you could write your answer as, that would be 7 over 25, because they're both divisible by 2, or you could plug 14 divided by 50 in your calculator. That would give you a 0.28. So that means that 28% of the time, the spinner landed on the number 4 in this experiment that we've conducted. Part B says, what is the probability on landing on a number that is greater than 2? So when it says greater than 2, that means it must be larger than 2, which would be the numbers 3 and 4. Well, because there's two favorable outcomes, we want to add their number of occurrences together. So that would be 19 plus 14 over the total amount, which was 50. If you were to add those together, that would give you 33 over 50, which cannot be simplified. Or you could plug that into your calculator to get a decimal. So that would be 0.66, which means that 66% of the time, the spinner landed on a number that was greater than 2, meaning it's landed on the numbers 3 or 4. Part C says, what is the probability of spinning and landing on a 9? Well, there is no number 9. So that would be 0. You could write that as 0 over 50, because that happens 0 times out of 50 spins. Or you can simplify that all the way to 0, meaning 0% of the time that occurred. Number 3 says the table shows the results of choosing one card from a deck of cards, recording the suit, and then replacing the card. Find each experimental probability. So I have a deck, I'm pulling one out, and then I'm putting it back. And I'm pulling it out, and I'm putting it back, because it says with replacing. Now, when they conducted this experiment, they pulled out a hearts 5 times, diamonds 9 times, clubs 7 times, and spades 5 times. So that means that there were a total number of, we're just going to add these together, so that would be 26. And then we're going to find the probabilities. So what's the probability of pulling out a diamond according to this experiment? Well, we pulled out a diamond 9 times out of a total of 26 trials. So that does not simplify, but if you wanted to go ahead and plug that into your calculator, we would get about 0.35, meaning approximately 35% of the time you would have pulled out a diamond. Part B says choosing a card that is not a club, so P not club. That means we have a couple of different options. You could either say, okay, well, here's the clubs, I'm just going to add the other 3 together and put it over the total. So that would be 5 plus 9 plus 5, or 19 over 26. Or you could use the complement, which is 1 minus the probability of getting a club. And we're going to see if we get the same thing. Remember, I said you should get 19 over 26 if you would have added those together. So let's see. 1 minus the probability of getting a club was 7 over 26. 1 becomes 26 over 26. And if I subtract 7 from that, that does give me 19 over 26. If you were to plug that into your calculator to get a decimal, you'd get about 0.73, which is saying that 73% of the time the card was not a club. So now at this time, I know it took a little while to get through the notes, you're going to go through and attempt the homework assignment. I do want to mention that because I can't print off color, I did write in the directions what colors these are, but I'll go over it with you as well. These dark shaded sections are purple. These lighter shaded sections are green. And then that section right there is white. And I believe that was the only thing you couldn't clearly tell. So go ahead and try the homework and let me know if you have any questions.